You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Welcome to another live event from Force 13, covering Hurricane Erin, which is strengthening right now with 85 mph winds indicated by latest information from Recon planes. And people who are looking at the satellite imagery right now, well, take a look on the right hand side. The appearance of this storm is really going up a gear or two as the storm opens up its eye now and continues its movement towards the west-northwest. It's pretty much going as expected, although really improving its appearance in just the last few hours. Recon finding 85 mph winds, an estimated pressure of around 982 millibars. Some substantial deepening over the course of the last 12 hours or so, when 12 hours ago it was around 998 millibars and now we're at 982. That of course being the pressure. The winds haven't changed extraordinarily, but a sure sign that this storm is strengthening, and the forecast is for a formidable Category 4 peak as we get into the start of next week. Now, I would say possibly even towards the high reaches of Category 4 status now might be the expectation from this storm. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, it's still got a ways to go before it gets that far. It is currently approximately 383 kilometers from Bermuda, which is just short of 250 miles, roughly. And obviously Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. We've still got tropical storm watches in effect, unless they've changed that. Let me just double check. Discontinued tropical storm watch for Bermuda. So they've clearly deemed that as not enough of a threat for Bermuda anymore. So they've discontinued the watch for Bermuda, meaning that the current watches now are for Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, Saba, and St. Eustatius. No warnings, those are all tropical storm watches at this time, and we've got no storm surge watches or warnings in effect either. This live stream is not going to be a full bells and whistles live stream tonight, although we are running it in tandem with the automated stream, which we will be redirecting back to once we've finished covering this tonight. We figured that it was of interest to do a proper live stream, though, to at least talk about this storm for a while tonight and digest all of the information that's coming through, recon data, etc. So there's a representation, National Hurricane Center's latest cone. Behind that we've got the wind speed probabilities, showing that almost all areas are in relatively low chances. A few areas there for a little bit higher chance of tropical storm force winds, but not many places reaching 20%. Bermuda being maybe around 21% there for tropical storm conditions at this time. And the Turks and Caicos Islands just shy of 20%. Agalega, which is an island in the British Virgin Islands that sticks out to the north to the most, if that makes sense, sticks out to the north the most, around 20% chance for that island as well, and Anguilla, just north of St. Martin, around 17% chance of tropical storm conditions. So that is why we're not seeing any warnings out at this point, but it's certainly going to interest a lot of people when they see that this is expected to become a Category 4 storm, and when we look at some of the close-up imagery right now, the floaters, in my opinion, aren't positioned very well at this time, but nonetheless you can still see that the eye is opening out, but you'll see it a lot more when we enter the mesoscale imagery. Here it is again. The floater mesoscale positioning appears to be a bit off right now, but you can nonetheless see how the eye has been opening out in a big way in just the last few hours. My name's Nathan Foy here in the studio. Hello to you all. Once again, I'm joined right now by Maury and Declan. Hello to both of you right now. And let's first talk to Maury. Your thoughts on the storm's progress so far? Doing quite well now.
Yeah, so I think this is currently going as expected. Like, we were showing concerns of it moving southwards, like moving south of the projected path initially. It seems like that it's heading. What direction is it heading? Like, I think it's like west northwest at most. Like,
Good question. The angle is, yeah, west northwest is pretty accurate. Maybe around 290 degrees, maybe a little more. If I just take a look at that last advisory, they'll tell you what they think. Yeah, 290, we got it. 290 degrees on the compass bearing there.
yeah, so I think it is going to move towards that projected track more, which starts to de-express those concerns of it heading towards the U.S. potentially. Of course, that is later in the run, but right now, what we are seeing is a storm that is rapidly intensifying or on the brink of rapidly intensifying. And Recon is showing that,
Yep.
especially on the northeastern side, as most hurricanes have their winds on the northeastern side. Uh, there is also a well-organized area of vortexes right ahead. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but right around the eye, the clouds are rotating around the eye, which I think indicates that this is rapidly intensifying or about to rapidly intensify, especially with all of that new cloud cover that's
Oh,
coming.
I mean, the satellite imagery certainly convinces me of that. Recon data, interesting to see what will happen pass by pass. Lots of planes active right now.
Yeah, there is quite a few planes active right now. Specifically, I think it was two, or maybe three. Just two of them have their recon or Hurricane Hunter data active right now. And one thing to note about the storm, I do think that there could be some cloud cover for Barbuda still. I don't think that the tropical storm winds are going to reach out that far, but I do think that there still is going to be some rain impacts
Oh
and
yeah.
maybe some storm surge in Barbuda, and also those areas nearby that are under the tropical storm watch. I just don't think they're going to experience tropical storm conditions. The only area that I'm currently like believe im- would be impacted by tropical storm conditions in the short term is probably Bermuda.
Let me just double check that this graphic is up to date. Yes, before I show it, here it is. So rainfall expectations here on this graphic showing in some areas, obviously at sea, they're saying 8 to 12 inches. Land areas, they're saying isolated up to 6 on pretty much all the tropical storm watch areas and the Virgin Islands and parts of Puerto Rico, eastern Puerto Rico, and up to 4 inches for the western side of the island. So those are your rainfall expectations. Not too crazy, but still, sometimes it's not always the amount of rain, it's the rain rate that can be very hazardous for flash flooding. Declan, you're also with us tonight as well. You've been watching the storm, I assume?
Yep, I have. I seen it 12 hours ago and didn't really look that well because it had like wind shear and dry air. Now I watched the structure of the past 12 hours and it's just looks impressive. Over like a Cat 1 hurricane. Now I think this is on the cusp, if not rapidly intensifying right now. But I believe it dropped 10 millibars in 12 hours, I think. Am I right?
It may well be more than that, actually. It's at least that, I would say.
Because it was 998 this morning when I woke up. It's now 982. So that's
Yep.
in the 12 hours dropped 10 or more millibars.
That would be 16, so certainly, I mean,
Yep.
how much is that per hour? That's more than one per hour. So, yep, that is pretty impressive. We're waiting for more recon data, although just as we are live here, I suppose we're in a slight lull for recon because only NOAA 3 is actively in the storm, and Mori there, well, they got to spend a little bit of time lining up for their next pass.
Isn't there another
There's another
recon
plane en
going
route. I don't. They might arrive soon. Actually, they're not far out.
I think it's the AF08.
Yep, 308, and you can see it there on Maury's screen right now as well in relation to the storm itself there. So that one's heading in, starting to get its first flight level tropical storm force winds.
Looks like it.
Let's see if we can take some questions here. Just a reminder, this is going to be a relatively short live event compared to what we usually do. This is branded more as a update rather than a full-blown coverage. But John says, why is there strong convection on the southwest? Let me look back at that imagery again. Oh, that big chunky band. Well, I guess, I don't know how that's come to be, that band. I've not been looking at the storm's presentation for a little while, but I imagine it's to compensate for the lack of convection on its northern side, which I imagine is still being choked by dry air. Not the core, but the northern bands, or what would be. Possibly shear up there as well, but I doubt it at this point. Doesn't look like wind shear is really doing much to the storm at all. That's one major thing that's let up compared to last night's live stream, when wind shear was still near it, but by now it looks like wind shear's completely let up for at least the time being. Hurricane Weatherman, Category 5 member, welcome aboard. It is great to have you there, upgrading. Will the new AOI affect Erin? Okay, for those who haven't seen it so far, let's take a look back at the National Hurricane Center's page. 10% chance there they've given for an area of interest off the coast of North Carolina. I'm not really sure why. It's a weak surface low that's going to be meandering around the area for a little bit. It's a good question, actually, but I don't think it will affect Erin's track. I'm actually more interested in something that might come out of that front near Newfoundland, so much so that I've given it 40%, because several models are showing what could become a subtropical or tropical storm out of that front, the tail end of that front, in the next couple of days. It's not going to affect land, it will move out towards the northeast, but I really think they're missing a trick. Everyone's missing a trick by not looking out for that potential system there. As for what comes after Erin, which I'm sure some people might be asking behind it, because there's been one or two rumours on the models for that as well. Too early to say at the minute, but I think there's a decent chance that in a week there might be something else where Erin currently is, or somewhere in that general area.
I have a question for that subtropical system, though. What are the sea surface temperatures around that?
Oh, gee. I will go and fetch sea surface temperatures. I imagine they're still good enough.
I think about 24, 25.
Interesting. We will check that.
This is like 26, 27.
But yeah, that's what we're looking at there, that Maury is showing us right now. It would be something coming out of that. SSTs in that area right now are marginal, but if it's towards the southern end, then it's a bit of a cliff edge at that area, but you could possibly still see 27 plus. Let me just get the full graphic up here to show everyone.
I'm also noticing a small patch of dry air that's heading into that front right now. I don't know if that'll aid or decrease the potential for this storm to develop.
We'll see how it does. So whilst we're looking at sea surface temperatures, so obviously in the subtropical zones there, but also where Erin is right now, approaching Lesser Antilles. Well, temperatures around 28 degrees Celsius right now, and getting warmer. We were saying yesterday on the live stream that, I don't know what that ding was for, but on the live stream yesterday we were talking about how sea surface temperatures are about to rise, and it wouldn't have surprised me to see the storm really start to improve. Obviously, it's forecasted anyway, but there we go. Sea surface temperatures have warmed, the storm has gotten stronger, and they will continue to warm, and incidentally, the forecasted peak is very close to where those warmest waters are, which right now are along the path of Erin. It's to the southwest of Bermuda, where temperatures are around 31 degrees Celsius. Some really warm areas there on the map, as you can see. A big line extending from the Sargasso Sea area all the way through into the Gulf of Mexico and parts of the northern Caribbean around Cuba. 32 degrees in some of those spots. Very impressive indeed. And just waiting for a system to take advantage of those temperatures. Now, there were some more interesting questions. Could Erin become a Category 5? It says, Weather Bob, I would not rule it out. Even yesterday we were saying non-zero chance, but the way this is going right now, I would say the chances are increasing. I would personally forecast a high-end Category 4 at this point. And Jason Bewley says, could you show us the AOI, please? Well, I assume you mean the one near North Carolina. Maury, could you switch to that?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of convection there with it, actually.
Yeah, I was noticing that. There's a little bit of something coming off of the Carolinas. I don't know if it's going to take a while to develop. If it does take a while to develop, then it might impact Erin, but it seems like it might just be a quick spin-off if it does develop, and it would happen much more soon than Erin in that area.
Canadian from earlier saying, tuning in from Atlantic Canada, do you think we should keep a close eye on Erin? Well, there's still obviously the chance that it could hit. I would say it's looking less likely than it did several days ago. However, let's just tune in to the GEFS ensemble members. Now, I'm looking at this for the first time as well, so we'll be able to take a look at this together. But there's 21 ensembles in this run, and you'll see all the ensemble signatures. Right now, they're all around here. You can see that big red mass. They're all numbers overlaid on each other, and those are all the 21 ensembles generating a low pressure number. As the animation progresses, you'll see the spread start to increase. So that's not showing the size of the storm, that is showing the size of the uncertainty for its track. And you'll see all those numbers pushing out, and how many of them hit Canada? There's a couple there, 3, 4, and then 2 stragglers. Much slower scenarios, those last 2. Outliers. So around 6 of those 21 ensembles have a landfall scraping the east coast of Newfoundland. And those last 2 get relatively close to Nova Scotia. There's one there as well that gets very close, actually. It's 957 millibars. So we're talking about, yeah, there's a fair chance that it'll be a typical, clipper kind of thing. And straight out. And then look at the ensembles afterwards. Again, strong support for another hurricane somewhere over this area that could be more dangerous for the US East Coast, but lots and lots of uncertainty about all of that, and then it just gets really crazy after that. So interesting to look at that. But and for US impacts, I mean, the closest one to the Outer Banks there gets, by that point, it's probably large enough to give brief tropical storm force winds to the Outer Banks there, and maybe Cape Cod. But in general, the threat seems relatively low, certainly for any major US cities.
I got I got the model one up if you want the model one, Nathan.
Which one?
GFS for the Atlantic. Whole.
Yeah, yeah, we can't. The screen's not very big, unfortunately, on yours there. But
Oh,
we've been able to take a look at. So we will show some of our graphics on that in just a second as well. And Hurricane Weatherman there saying that I'm thinking Erin will become a significant major hurricane. GFS shows the system becoming quite large. Yep, that is pretty much going to happen. Already starting to happen. And I was going to say something else on top of that. I can't remember what it was now.
Also, we do have some news with the Hurricane Hunters. There is now 85 knot winds detected.
Flight level.
Flight level, yeah.
Okay, so each time they're starting to get stronger winds, this must be NOAA 3 that have just gone in from the north. Is that the one? Yes, it is, I think.
Yeah.
So they've just got 85 knot winds there. That is flight level. So that won't be the same on the ground. However, it's the highest that we've seen so far. And they're just getting into the center. We don't quite have the pressure read on that one just yet. But it's going to be interesting to see what they get. They were down to 986. And they were still getting hurricane force winds there at flight level. So that is going to be interesting. It's going to be the lower 980s again, I think, when they go through the center. And it was there, AF308 that are going into Erin right now as well. They haven't gotten into any really strong winds yet, but we'll keep up to date on their progress as well for the short time that we're here tonight. So in a few minutes I'll show the GFS model, and we can take a look at what it has in the longer range as well. Redneck Lover 22 says, what is the silly but long range hurricane forecast for the rest of the year? Well, that is not just looking at long range models, that's looking at climatological models. And I mean, it takes quite a lot of data digesting, but I'll see if I can make a very snap analysis here. Caribbean cruises, maybe you were suggesting, possibly. I'm not so sure about that. Looking at some of the forecast charts, I would say that there's a bigger chance of something more homegrown in the later part of the season. Gulf action, possibly things forming near the Bahamas and things like that. But we'll see. Things can go differently. And yes, we have seen the eye in this storm. It is looking pretty good. Let's take a look at some more close-up imagery again. Not what we were looking for at the minute. Let's go with this view. And whilst, even though I can't get it animated, unfortunately, but we'll show you the WSV3 view as well, which, to be honest, is my favourite. Really looking very impressive on this image. I can animate it if I control the slider myself, which is very annoying, but that's how it's progressed there in the last 6 hours. 6 hours ago here, massive burst of convection that really started this chain going here. Eye appears through that burst of convection eventually, and is really starting to pop out a bit more now. Looking at very impressive, the most it has so far, and well on its way to becoming a stronger storm. We're just going to throw it back to Maury's picture here for a little bit whilst we get up model data. Anything else you want to add right now?
I think that... Well, also, we are going to see that flight come in. the new one that is about to enter into the eye, and I believe that the latest frame was from 5 minutes ago, so it's probably entering into the eye wall now. It's doing a southwest to northeast pass, so we'll probably see more of an accurate depiction of the storm there, especially since the northeast might be the strongest side.
Yeah, look at that though. Still find it crazy just how little the wind field expands out on the southwestern side. In fact, it even shows on that wind field graphic.
That's definitely due to wind shear, or a little bit of wind shear.
Southwestern side is holding it back at the minute.
Yeah.
Okay, the long range part of the model has failed. I'm trying to get the long range to show here, but if we don't get the long range, then we'll just say goodbye long range weenies, and we'll just look at the medium, low to medium range, short to medium range. We're also joined by Ethan right now as well. Ethan, your take on the current situation?
Impressive hurricane moving north of the Leeward Islands right now.
Still not quite at its closest pass to the islands yet, but it is nearly there. It's going to be, in fact, 12 hours away, I think, is going to be the closest pass. It's getting quite close. The weather is changing on the islands now. Well, that is very disappointing. Our model visualization isn't working beyond the 24th of August, so you're going to have to deal with it. Let's take a look at what the model is showing then for that time period, and if there are any other interesting things beyond that, we'll show you in other viewers. Okay, so first of all, we've got Erin, of course, starting out there, and off it goes, becoming a major hurricane, becoming a Category 4. Guys, how strong do you now think Erin might get?
145 miles per hour.
I think higher is possible.
I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't forecast it.
I'm going to say 150 miles per hour.
Bermuda there getting nearly hurricane force winds. If you were watching last night's stream, they were just about getting hurricane force winds, so I think that actually is a bit of a downgrade on that forecast for you, Bermuda, but still nearly up to hurricane force. And then later on in the run, storm gets very huge and still has major hurricane force winds when it's passing Newfoundland, which gets tropical storm force winds according to the model, and then quickly weakens after that. Off it goes, massive extratropical cyclone in the far North Atlantic, and look, straight in its place next week, another major hurricane according to the GFS. That is by no means set in stone yet. We've not even put a 10% on that yet, but keep watching. And then this other system as well, this one that I've tagged, which I think people need to take note of. There it is, southeast of Newfoundland in the next 2 days. Could possibly get subtropical or tropical characteristics. Elsewhere around the world in the next 9 days, roughly here, nothing in the East Pac, nothing in the Central Pac. Western Pacific, though, again, we've got two 40% systems that we've tagged right now. The one on the left there, moving through the Litsu Peninsula of China and Hainan Island there. Very briefly, becoming maybe a tropical storm. Very messy, monsoonal type. And then another system forming near Okinawa, actually moving further east than earlier expected. 40% on that as well. Storm force winds to Okinawa, then it strengthens and becomes a compact typhoon as it approaches South Korea. And then it turns left this time into the coast of China. You remember last night's bulletin, it was calling for a landfall in South Korea. Well, not this time, and that is still low confidence as well. Indian Ocean as a whole then, north and south, not very much going on here. Yep, nothing at all. Rest of the southern hemisphere, it would appear that there's nothing much on the cards either. A few interesting extratropical cyclones for New Zealand and that area. And down in the South Atlantic, you never know, but not today, not this week. and the Mediterranean as well. Nothing expected there. Looking at rainfall expectations over the next 7 days. Let's just show the 7-day rainfall totals. Well, you can quite clearly see the track of Erin printed out there. GFS model is indicating maximums of 3 inches on some of the islands, but don't forget the resolution can be poor on those islands, and you could see isolated maximums up to 6 inches. Bermuda possibly getting to 2 inches, and Atlantic Canada possibly getting up to 2 to 2.5 inches as well. US East Coast shouldn't receive any real significant rain from the storm directly. And looking to the Western Pacific, again, a few hotspots. Vietnam, not fully related to this potential storm down there, but 15 or 16 inches of rain, 400 millimeters there for parts of northern and eastern Vietnam. And for the coast of China as well, getting up towards 10 inches, 250 millimeters for a significant part of Guangdong province. And for the East China Sea, well, out at sea, extremely high rainfall values from that second system possibly. Okinawa, though, only getting to about 4 inches, 100 millimeters. So that is what the models have in store. Let's go back to live imagery of Erin right now. And Ethan, your take on the storm's structure as it stands, and anything interesting you've seen from Recon?
I haven't seen anything interesting from Recon, but noting that the pressure has dropped significantly throughout the day, a lot of people are saying that they are very impressed with the rapid intensification phase that we're seeing. To be honest, I'm not. I mean, this is fairly standard for tropical cyclone rapid intensification rates as far as it goes.
I think people might be getting carried away that they've got... I think when we've got all these Recon observations, it gets people more excited because they've got real data that's changing all the time, when this thing could be, this kind of thing could be happening all the time with storms that we don't get the planes for.
Western Pacific, Eastern Pacific.
Yeah, okay, other basins.
Just saying.
Yeah, and still, I'm quite intrigued as to the wind profile. Southern side, very poor. Barely even storm force winds in the southwest quadrant, I think it is.
Something to take note of.
That's going to change, though, but for the time being, it's still a very uneven profile from one quadrant to the next. Do we have a dropson data? We've got a max wind band from drop 22, and it was getting 92 knots at altitude, even down to 956 millibar level. So that's quite interesting. That may start mixing down. So it's definitely on the way up. I mean, there's no question about that. But the main points really are that the threat to land hasn't really increased. It is going on pretty much as expected. It's still expected to reach Category 4 status, and that's not really new. They started forecasting a Category 4, was it last night or this morning? Yesterday, and by Wednesday, according to that forecast there, they expect it to make its closest pass to Bermuda. Let's see if we can get some more comments and questions right now. How low might the pressure get in Erin when it peaks as a high-end Category 4? Well, if it does, I mean, GFS calling 930s. Don't look at the icon model, by the way. Any thoughts on the icon model, Ethan?
Nope.
For those wondering, it is currently showing 904, I think it was. Something like that. Yeah.
We don't need to talk about the icon model run, though.
No. Hurricane Weatherman says, as a member who lives in Canada, everybody here remembers Fiona back in 2022. Hopefully we won't get a storm like that this year. I doubt it's going to be Erin at least. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, yep, Amethyst said earlier, shocked that it still has major hurricane winds. It passes by Newfoundland in that model run. Yes, I was surprised to see that as well. I mean, I guess that's what Atlantic Canada... what was that noise? Residents would be worried about. What do you consider a bust, like the trolls keep saying? Oh, those trolls, calling it a bust. Well, it definitely isn't a bust. It's the first hurricane of the season, and it is expected to become a major hurricane. And I think that's going to happen in the not too distant future, the way the storm's starting to look. So I don't think this is going to be a bust. It was never... like, some of these bust people are probably saying, well, it's a bust because one of those two ensembles that called for landfall in the US as a Category 3 have turned out to be wrong. Even though there's still 90% of other models that did call for a track more like this. That's probably what some of those people mean by a bust, but here we are. I mean, it couldn't have been ruled out at that point. It can pretty much be ruled out at this point. Certainly a direct US landfall pretty much can be ruled out. But storm force winds on some parts of the US East Coast are still possible. High temperature must have increased a fair bit there as well on this satellite imagery, and just its overall appearance looking better, with that big chunky band off to its southwest likely to influence the weather of the Lesser Antilles throughout the course of tonight. We're going to be finishing in just a sec. It was only going to be a short live stream to give you an update on Erin. We will be having a full tropical weather bulletin at 8 a.m. We're flipping the timings around. 8 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time, we're running a full tropical weather bulletin. Any final thoughts from the team right now?
So, I think the storm is... Yeah, I think the storm is quickly intensifying, and I think it's going to go on probably to not affect much land. I still think that we could have that, like... I'm unsure if that lowering in pressure will be fully as a tropical cyclone. It might be as an extratropical cyclone where it reaches the 930s. Because I saw on the model run,
yes,
it said 930s south of Newfoundland. I'm not sure if that's tropical or extratropical, but extratropical storms can reach that low pressure. So.
Well, in fact, it had two pressure peaks, one tropical and one extratropical, so it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, one of them was like 948 near Bermuda, and then one of them was in the 930s.
Wow. Fascinating. So there we are. This is the 5th storm of the Atlantic hurricane season and the first hurricane. Were we surprised that it took so long? I mean, it's pretty normal, to be honest. I think people have been expecting crazy Atlantic seasons. This one so far is normal, but how much longer will that stay the case for? I'm not sure. Oh, we should also give a mention to that area in the Gulf of Mexico. It didn't form in the end. National Hurricane Center went all the way up to 50%, but it ended up not forming, and I'm not surprised that it didn't. No thoughts on that. The team are baffled by that.
I mean, it didn't look very interesting to begin with.
It didn't. I never saw any rotation really on the clouds as they were moving in. Maybe a little bit of rain for Texas, but it's already moved inland now, and it's pretty much over for that system. But Erin right now, roughly 982 millibars, maybe a little bit lower by the time we get some more data. And probably 85 mile per hour winds, but by the looks of what we saw on the drops on there and what we're seeing on flight level winds, I think those wind speeds will be rising pretty soon. I think we could be seeing a Category 2 before morning, and if it keeps going, maybe even a Category 3 during the course of tomorrow. What was the forecast again? Is it Category 3 by the end of tomorrow?
Category 3 by, what is it, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. So there we go. Alright then, we're going to finish up here. We're going to throw it to our automated stream if you want to stick around and chat in the chat section, or just have something on in the background and have a look at the storm in 4K Ultra HD satellite imagery, plus more on there right now. We'll be back again soon with our Tropical Weather Bulletin, 8 AM Atlantic Standard Time on Saturday. Good night.